Hello everyone and welcome to Callsign Charlie Models. It is time for another inbox review, and today we have another 1/32 kit from Trumpeter. We have the 1/32 A-1H AD-6 Skyraider. Now earlier in the channel we did one of the other Trumpeter Skyraiders, and that kit looked absolutely amazing as well, so I'm sure this one is going to be right on those same lines. It's pretty much the same kit, only a few different parts right here. Now we also, on the top of the box, we have some nice box art with the VA 176 A-1H from the USS Intrepid that was able to shoot down a MiG right here. We also have the length of 369 millimeters and a wingspan of 476.9 millimeters, which on the US standard units equals about 14, almost 15 inches, right under 15 inches for length, and a wingspan of about 18 3/4 inches for your size, and that is with the wings extended. Now with the wings folded, it's going to be significantly less narrow, so if you are in a space conserving mood, that is definitely the way to go. This also has more than 440 pieces in it, and by the looks of it, it does have a lot of Ordnance in this kit, so I'm thinking a lot of those pieces are the Ordnance. Now we go off to the side of the box right along here, and we have again the VA 176 A-1H right here, the Hornet that was able to shoot down a MiG, and then we also have a nice little history about the A-1H right there. And then we flip it over to the other side, and then we have another Air Force version right here. We have the 22nd Special Operations Squadron 56 Special Operations Wing A-1H right there, also referred to by Sandy right there. So again, nice options for your decals and everything. We're going to open up the box once I can get the box opened up. Typical of Trumpeter, the boxes are always nice and tightly sealed, so they don't go all loosey-goosey on you, and also they do give a nice amount of protection to the model. I've never had any issues with Trumpeter on broken pieces or anything like that. So we open up the box and we have a lot of plastic included in this kit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get everything pulled out, set aside, and then we can start going through the instructions, decals, and all the plastic. So give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Alright, so starting off with the instructions, we have the standard Trumpeter booklet format for our instructions in black and white. This is also item number 02253 right here, and we have the standard legend of symbols and the read before assembly on the instruction booklet. Then again, we have our parts callouts right through there on the first couple pages. And now when we start the kit, we are starting straight off with the engine. It looks like we're going to have some nice engine detail right in there going on. And then we're working on our flight deck, working on the pilot seat, control sticks, and instrument panel. Right there we do have a decal to go onto the instrument panel. Then we have some more bulkheads and such going on to the around the flight deck right here. Then after that we're getting our engine attached to the firewall right there. After that's all done, we are getting the flight deck and engine, some bulkheads going on, and also a couple other pieces going in to the fuselage, and we're going to button everything up along with our tail wheel as well. After that we have a couple engine pieces to go on right through here, intakes and all that going on right there. And then we have our engine cowl going on. We do have the option of having the engine cowl closed or open, which is a nice detail to have, especially with all the work that you're going to be doing on this engine. And then we have some more parts going onto our cockpit, like the armor plating for the headrest, then also our instrument combing going on, and then our front windshield, and a couple other pieces going on back there. After that, we are working on our tail plane and also our rudder, getting that done, and also our main canopy piece. Then we're starting on our wings, getting the landing gear bays, started with that, and also our wing fold mechanisms going on right there as well. Alright, then after that we are working on our wing guns, and then we're going to get the wing tops put on right there. We do have a separate piece. I'm hoping that this piece is drilled out for the barrel. It's really going to be helpful with the detail. After that we do have our flaps going on in the open or down or up position, it looks like. Yep, we do have the option of up or down flaps. After that, we're adding in our landing gear and our landing gear doors, and then adding in our speed brakes along with our wing onto our fuselage. And then we have another speed brake going onto the underside right there, and then our propeller. Then we're working on our outer wings, getting those all on. Again, another gun set going on right there, so you will be able to show off that gun detail because it does have open hatches for that. Alright, and then again just repeating for the other side, and then we are attaching our wings in the folded position right there, or the extended option as well. So two different options with how you want to do the wings. We're also attaching all of our pylons onto the wings. This aircraft was able to carry a lot of ordnance on it. I'm not sure if this is the kit that has a toilet included in it, so we're going to get to see that here in a minute. But going on right through here, we have our bombs, 500-pound bombs, our rocket pods, 5-inch rockets, Mark 82s, the SUU-14 rocket pods, some Mark 81s. I think these are the Mark 114 bombs, possibly. And then we do have the toilet right here. So they dropped everything with the toilet, the sink, everything on it. So that is a nice addition to this kit. We'll have to see how that looks here in a second. Then we do have some fuel tanks and a Mark 117 bomb and a M66 2,000-pound bomb right there. And then on the very end we have our standard loadout specifications for the model. So if you follow this, you'll be able to get an accurate loadout of your kit. Up next we have two color callout sheets that are very large. The first one is for our decal options for our aircraft, adding in right here. So again, VA 176, the Hornet from the USS Intrepid right here. This one was able to shoot down a MiG, and you see the nice bomb markings right here. It doesn't have the MiG kill on here, but I'm not sure if that was actually on it anyways. Alright, and then we get the other side. We have the 22nd Special Operations Squadron 56 Special Operations Wing right there in the Southeast Asia camo scheme. There again, very nicely done on that. I do have two of these kits, so one of them I'll be doing as a naval variant, and the other one I'll be doing as the US Air Force variant on that. Then our color callout sheet that we have is for all of our ordnance. Here, like I said, a ton of ordnance. Also, our paint reference colors are using Mr. Hobby Vallejo, Model Master Tamiya, and Humbrol right there. So again, very nice done. On the toilet seat even has a fuse on it right there, and you got a few decals for all the pylons right there, and nothing on the back side. Alright, so we're starting off with the decal sheets. This decal sheet looks pretty nice. A lot of carrier film on these decals right here, but these are very large decals, so definitely going to want to take time laying those down. The color registry on the national insignia might look, in person they look a little bit off, but on camera they look pretty spot on. Then we have the Hornet Stinger right here, and then all the other decals. We have the instrument panel decal right there as well, hoping that we have another piece that goes over that to kind of liven that up as well. So again, pretty nice on the decals for those. And then we have our ordnance decals. Let's get this cut off right there. Standard Trumpeter ordnance decals, not much to them. These decals are all legible, but these just have lines in the boxes. They are not legible. Okay, Okay, and typical of Trumpeter, we get a box inside a box right here, and let's look inside this box. Looks like it's going to be our clear parts, Photo-etch, and rubber tires right here. First, we'll look at the Photo-etch. Again, typical Trumpeter Photo-etch, it is pretty thick. We do have some seat belts, that very little detail on the seat belts going on. We also do have our grills and a couple other pieces going on. That should be alright. Again, I'm not a fan of Photo-etch seat belts, so definitely will be getting a replacement set for the seat belts on that. We have our rubber tires. Again, decent tread detail on them. We do have the seam going down the middle, and we also have no sidewall detail on those. So those will do okay, but you do have resin aftermarket options for those. Then moving on to our clear parts. Clear parts, like always, very well packed from Trumpeter with this foam packing material. So we shouldn't have to worry about any scratches or anything. But we do have, I say that, and there's some few like minor surface scratches on it, but they're not bad. We also do have that seam line going right down the middle, as you can see right there. Definitely going to have to take our time on sanding that out, but it shouldn't be that difficult to take care of. Alright, so up next we have our other clear sprue. We have a couple clear pieces right here with our front windshield right there, and then also our instrument panels as well. The instrument panels do look very nice. The dial faces are not drilled out. That piece just popped off, but all the dial faces are solid glass, so definitely will look a lot better with this dial face with the decal right behind it. Alright, we're just going to get all the Ordinance done and out of the way. This is our first double sprue right here. We have our rockets and our Mark 82s and all the other bombs going on with our 2000, or this is our rocket pod right here. Looking okay. We do have some basic rocket detail in that one, as you can see. Definitely going to be looking into some aftermarket rocket pods for this, but the 5-inch rockets are one piece, and those actually do look pretty good on those right there. Alright, so up next we have another double sprue. We get 2 of these, and we also, the previous sprue I did, we get a total of 4 of those right there. So now we have our fuel tanks, also our 2,000-pound bombs right here. So going on, very nice, some rivet detail and some recessed panel lines, all looking pretty nice. Alright, so up next we have another double sprue, and this one is a little bit of a mix match. We have some splay braces for our pylons right here. We have our hubs for our landing gear, 2 different options for those. Then also we have some machine gun bullets right there, and also our toilet going on as well. Some nice molded toilet right there, and then some more splay braces and a couple other detail pieces going on for all the other parts of the kit. I'm pretty sure that some of this is also for the landing gear as well. Alright, so now we have our seats. We're moving on to the actual aircraft build now. So we have our seats right here. No ejector pin marks on that. Everything on here is looking pretty nice. On this right here we have these 2 giant ejector pin marks. I'm not sure. Yeah, that is going to be visible. That is the inside of the speed brake. So we are going to need to take care of those if we're going to have the speed brakes open. There, and then we have the outside of the speed brakes and the speed brake well right here, which has no ejector pin marks, so very nice. Some nice rivet detail on the inside of that as well. Then we flip it over to the other side. Not much really to write home about, because none of this stuff is really going to be visible when the aircraft is all built. So again, pretty nice detail on everything on the reverse side. Alright, up next we have our control surfaces right here. Again, absolutely gorgeous panel liner and rivet detail on here. Nice and crisp, as you can see. Hopefully the camera will focus. But you can see all the panel liner and rivet detail on there, on all of those going on. Looking absolutely superb. Alright, so moving on, we have some pylons and some landing gear stuff for this kit. As you can see, everything's looking pretty nice. Our landing gear struts are in one piece, solid plastic right here. Hopefully they'll be strong enough to hold up the weight of the model. But again, very nice. I'm not seeing, on this side, I'm not seeing any ejector pin marks. We'll flip it over here in a second and check it out. But everything else on here, from what I can see so far, looks very nice. And we flip it over. Alright, so the landing gear doors, we do have a lot of ejector pin marks on there. Right there. I'm pretty sure that these are supposed to be solid pieces, but we do have the ejector pin marks on all of these right here, as you can see. And then the other pieces, we do have our front, like our very top landing gear door right here. Again, no ejector pin marks on that, so that is very nice. But the ones that are going to be visible, we do have some rather large ejector pin marks on those. And we also do have some rivet detail all along, so minus the ejector pin marks, the landing gear doors do look very nice. Also for our landing gear, again on the other side, I am not seeing any ejector pin marks on those. So again, very nice on the landing gear door, or actual landing gear. Alright, now we have some of our wing fold area and some of the parts going on there. We have our instrument combing. We have two different options for our instrument combings, and then some of our cockpit stuff right here, like our bulkhead. Again, nice framing and rivet detail on those. And then for our actual cockpit area, not much, but we're going to be having a lot of detail going all around in here to really busy that up. And for our wing fold areas, again, some very nice rivet detail, a little bit of cable detail in there as well. So again, very nice start out point. Alright, so now we have another sprue of a bunch of, looks like engine parts right here. We have oil tank right there. Then we're starting with our exhaust pipes. Exhausts are drilled out, as you can see. Very nicely done on that. And then a lot of our engine parts have some very nice detail to them, going all the way around. No issues with any of this. This is looking very nice. I'm very happy with how this sprue is turning out. Alright, so up next we have some more control surfaces like our flaps right here. Again, nice panel line and rivet detail on there. The panel line, the detail on here is faint, but it is there and it does look very good when you can see it. Then we also have some nice cable detail on there as well. And then for our outer wings, again, very nice panel line and rivet detail on there. I'm hoping that the camera will show up. The rivet detail shows up the panel lines, but the rivet detail, like I said, is really faint. It's nice and crisp, don't get me wrong, but it's so fine that the camera is really having a hard time picking it up. Alright, up next we have our underside of our wings, and as you can see, we have all the holes for our pylons. All the plastic is a nice kind of plastic. It's not brittle, it's not soft, it's that right texture of plastic right there. And we also have some very nice panel lines and panel lines and rivets on here. There's no ejector pin marks from what I can see so far. Again, for the most part, this is just a repeat of the other sprue with the exception of the underside of the wings right there. Alright, so now moving on to our actual engine sprue, our engine cylinder heads. Alright, so if I'm being honest, the cylinder heads could look a lot better, in my opinion. The cooling vane detail is a little bit, it just doesn't look like anything but a little bit of scribe lines, so it could be a lot better on that. But for the other parts, everything else, like our push rods, propellers, the cowling flaps right here, all those are looking pretty good. We're going to take a look on the underside here in a second to see how that is looking. And also our hatches right here, or our engine cowling. Again, not much detail on these. We're going to check it out here in a second when we flip it over, because I can kind of see some framing detail on the underside of here. And then for our actual one-piece engine cowl, all that feels pretty nice. We do have a little bit of a mold seam right here that is a little bit raised, so definitely going to want to take a sander to that. But everything else on here looking very nice. Now we flip it over to the other side for the inside of our engine cowls, and those, as you can see, look absolutely amazing on that. Nice framing detail. No ejector pin marks on any of those, so again, very nicely done on those. Now for our cowl flaps, for the open ones, we do have a small ejector pin mark on the edge of each one of those, so it should be fairly easy to take care of those as well. Alright, so up next we have the center wing section. We have the bottom and top of the center wing right here. We have some absolutely gorgeous rivet detail and molded on detail right through there. That's looking really nice on this kit. The lines are nice and crisp along with the rivets going on. No issues with any of that. And then on the top side of the wings, same level of detail going on there. And then on the flip side, we do have the sealing for our landing gear well, a little bit of framing detail, not much to those, but all the ejector pin marks for all these pieces are placed right on the outside of the visible area, so very nicely done on that. Alright, and this is our last sprue, and we have our fuselage halves right here. Again, we have some absolutely gorgeous panel line and rivet detail on the sides of the fuselage. I'm not seeing any issues with anything going on through here. Do have a little bit of flash right on the edge right there, but again, really easy to clean up on that. Then we have the other side, again, nicely done, even on the speed brake areas. I'm hoping that you can see those rivets on there, but again, really nice on those pieces. Then we have some more detail going on. I'm not sure what these pieces are for. It looks like something to do with our speed brakes. Right there might be a different variant of our speed brakes. But again, you're going to have these parts that go over here. So this part is going to go on top of that, which is going to hide those ejector pin marks. And then you have all the framing. And then for the cockpit area, you have a little bit of sidewall detail, and then the ejector pin marks are put right behind that where you're not going to be able to see any of that. Then on the other side, again, a little bit of sidewall detail right there. Alright, so that's it for the Trumpeter 132nd A-1H AD-6 Skyraider. And the kit, for the most part, looks absolutely amazing. The one kind of let down was the engine, on the detail on the engine, but I'm sure there's aftermarket sets that you can get. Or if you just want to close up all the cowlings, I'm sure you're not going to be able to see a lot of it going through the front of the cowling behind the propeller and everything. So that shouldn't be a huge issue unless you're opening up the cowlings, then it might run into a little bit of an issue. But if you're going to do that, you might as well just go ahead and add all the wiring and do all the stuff to it to really spruce that thing up. And then other than that, there weren't many issues with the kit that I could see. Straight off the bat, out of the box, all the detail on it looks very nice. Now maybe you might have to do a little bit of re-scribing and re-riveting just to make some of the rivets more pronounced, but that's an easy day. But other than that, that's all I gotta say. I hope you guys enjoyed this inbox review. I also hope that if you're on the fence about getting this kit, I hope this video helped you make your decision. If you haven't yet, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let us know if you've built this one before and if you've had any issues with this build. That's all I got to say. So until next time, hope you guys have a great day. Stay frosty. Happy modeling. And also happy Veterans Day to any of my fellow veterans out there. So see you next time.